Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Giribhara Dhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Giribhara Dhari. Vallabha Giribharadha Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Bandachari Jamuna Tira Bandachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotarashata Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Grantara Shimam Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shishi Guru and Shivoranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonum, Chapter 79, Lord Balaram goes on pilgrimage. Text 25 to 29. We don't have the text in the board, but you can look in your telephone. Give you a little time. Good. Gadapani ubhau drishtva samraddhau bijajai shinau mandalani vichitrani charanta vidan abravit. Gadapani ubhau drishtva samrabdau bijajarsinau mandalani vichitrani charanta vidana brabit Gadapani ubhau drishtva samrabdhau bijajasinau mandalani vichitrani charanta vidana brabit. Please chant. Gadapani ubhau drishtva samradhau bijajashinau mandalani vichitrani charanta vidan abrabit. Gadapani ubhau drishtva samradhau bijajashinau mandalani vichitrani charanta vidan abrabit. Gada with clubs, pani in their hands, ubhau both of them, Duryodhan and Bhima, drishtva seeing, samradhau furious, Vijaya victory, Eshinau striving for, Mandalani circles, Vichitrani artistic, Charantau moving in, Idam this, Abrabit he said. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Balaram found Duryodhan and Bhima with clubs in their hands, each furiously striving for victory over the other as they circle about skillfully. The Lord addressed them as follows. Text number 26. Juvantulya balau birau he rajan he bikrodhara ekam pranadikam manye utaikam shikshajadikam. Translation. Lord Balaram said, King Duryodhan and Bhima, listen. You two warriors are equal in fighting prowess. I know that one of you has greater physical power, while the other is better trained in technique. And the purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Bhima was physically more powerful, but Duryodhan was more advanced in terms of technique. Text number 27. Tasmat eka tarasyeha Jubajo Shama Viryajo Nalakshyati Jajo Nyava Virama Twa Palorana. Translation. Since you are so evenly matched in this fighting prowess, I do not see how either of you can win or lose this duel. Therefore, please stop this useless battle. Text number 28. Natat Vakyan Jagrihatur Bhatha Vairao Nipatavat Anusmaran Tavanyoyam Duruktam Duskritani Cha. Translation. Sukadev Goswami continued. They did not accept Lord Balaram's request, O king, although it was logical, for their mutual enmity was irrevocable. Each of them constantly remembered the insults and injuries he had suffered from the other. And text number 29. Distantat anuman bano ramo dwara gatinjajau ugrasena dibhi pritair gyati bi samupagata. Translation and purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Concluding that the battle was the arrangement of fate, Lord Balaram went back to Dwarka. There he was greeted by Ugrasena and his other relatives, who were all delighted to see him. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that the word Dishtam, fate, indicates that the battle between Bhima and Duryodhana has been enjoined by Lord Krishna and set into motion by him. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Ramapada Swami Iti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaura Vani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Shatarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, this is right after, again, putting a bit of the background in which this pastime is taking place. We have heard that Lord Balaram was just finishing 1 year, 12 months of pilgrimage. It all coincided. We have to see, seeing the bigger picture of Krishna's pastimes. Krishna explains the purpose of him descending into this world is to establish the principles of religion, to annihilate the miscreants, and to give pleasure to the devotees. He expresses that in the Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya Shadunan Vinashaya Chaduskritan Dharma Swanstapanarthayo Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. I come every millennium, which means once in 1,000 cycles of yuga, he comes for the purpose of doing this. To assure that the world is carried out by the principles of religion. And most important, to give pleasure to the devotees, to connect and have this beautiful reciprocation of love with the devotees. And, by the way, eliminate all those who bring obstacles to the devotional service of those who are devoted to Lord Krishna. So he comes for that purpose. And in the big picture, he does that by performing lila, pastimes, which is quite remarkable and quite beautiful. It's something that if we to, um, as from the philosophical point of view, or even from some common sense point of view, like the supreme controller, meaning that Krishna, as a supreme controller with inconceivable potencies, just by his wish, everything can be in place. Demons can be eliminated. And as a matter of fact, why demons? Why not, if it's, you know, a perfect controller, why having demons? It's like when you create, when you're doing a creation, you don't create something in your creation that is inbuilt with some element that causes difficulties, right? If I'm designing a software, I'm not going to design a software with bugs, like, with malware. Or if I'm creating a medicine, I'm not going to create a medicine with something that infects people, that the possibilities like that. I'm creating something that is sustainable and that is, you know, contained, that it doesn't allow difficulties. Now, here's the supreme controller that creates, maintains this whole cosmic manifestation. And within this cosmic manifestation, there is all these situations in which there's all kinds of obstacles. In fact, this cosmic manifestation is governed by this duality, this dvesha, or these two different opposing elements. So it's almost like created in such a way that there's conflict. There's going to be conflict because you have opposing energies that are in existence. So why? Why the supreme controller, perfect and complete, does something like this? And our acharyas, from the perspective of the materialistic perspective of trying to understand Krishna's manifestation, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's activities, Krishna's appearance in this world, is very difficult. It's very difficult from a material perspective to try to make sense of this. Even people of faith have a difficulty trying to understand this conundrum, this difficulty. There's the classical question of, why in God's creation there is evil. So it's a question that people ask. And then, so if there is evil, it means that there is a force that is opposing God. So if there is a force that is opposing God, then God is not all powerful. So that defies the definition of God. God is supposed to be one without a second. So, and then, if God is all powerful, And there is evil. How can you explain evil? If God is, then it means that God is not all good. It means that he doesn't care. You know, evil is creating havoc and making the life of those who are pious difficult. So God is not all good. He's callous. Okay, you create there and just leave the thing alone and let them let them, you know, go with all the difficulties and conflict and evil, and there's a, you know, let that chaos be there. So it's callous. So how you reconcile this? So people of faith that doesn't have this divya gyan or this tattva, this transcendental knowledge, when they're devoid of transcendental knowledge, cannot understand this, cannot understand the divine nature of Krishna's activities and Krishna's appearance in this world. So without transcendental knowledge, you just cannot understand. So then their conclusion is, yeah, God is all good. You can't say that God is not all good because then you can't have faith in God. So God is all good, but he's not all powerful. So therefore, we have to watch over this evil that is there that can create havoc in the world. You know. So transcendental knowledge is very important. Transcendental knowledge will give us the key to understand Jamma Karma Chamedi Vyan Evan Jovati Tattva. We can understand Krishna in truth. That his activities, his appearance is divine, they're transcendental, they have a purpose. Everything is perfectly designed and complete. So back to the question of how is that these forces exist? How is that there's all these kinds of difficulties, and why the all-powerful creator doesn't, with a clip of a finger, just make everything right? Why he allows all these things to happen? And why he comes into this world and perform leelas. And these leelas sometimes are very bewildering. Right now, we're dealing with the leela of Lord Balaram. And Lord Balaram, one of the things here that is highlighted is that he's very, very favorably inclined to the, how you say, the antagonistic, the character in the narration that is the evil character, Duryodhana. How is that here's the personality of Godhead, have this sort of favorable feelings towards this evil person. The whole thing, the whole lila, it was to basically eliminate the obstacle of evil Duryodhana and all his followers and establish dharma sanstapanantaya, dharma, the personification of dharma, which was Maharaj Yudhisthira in the world, to rule the world. Maharaj Yudhisthira was this dharma sanstapanartaya, to establish the principles of religion in the world. He was the personification, he was the empowerment of Krishna. Shakti-avesh avatar. He was empowered to do that at that time. So, how's Lord Balaram is favoring this? It's exactly the contrary. So, how to understand that? Well, we need transcendental knowledge. How do we receive transcendental knowledge? Well, Krishna says you have to take shelter of those who have darshan of the truth, who knows the truth, this transcendental divine truth, tattvadarshi. So we have to approach, we have to receive this transcendental knowledge from these personalities, from perfected devotees who understand this truth perfectly, who are situated in this truth, and who are part of this disciplic line, evam parampara praptam. This parampara, Krishna explains that that's how the truth, that's how this transcendental truth is received. So we have to approach, we have to hear, we have to inquire, we have to serve these personalities in this disciplic succession. Pari pranaya sadhunan. No, what's that? No, how do, sorry. Pari prastena sevaya. We serve like that. So we listen, we understand. So our acharyas give us a clue. When we receive the commentaries of the acharyas to allow us to understand this almost impossible understanding of the truth. So for materialistic people, when they read, when they hear about these things, they can fully make sense of it. But we can, through the agent of our Vaishnavacharyas. So what is our Vaishnavacharyas tell us about what is happening right now? Well, they explain. First of all, the first question, why do we have these elements in this creation? These opposing elements. Why there is evil? And the reason is designed like that by Krishna. It's designed because it's something to do, it's an extension of the consciousness that the conditioned souls have to adopt to be able to leave the spiritual world and trying by their minute free will, trying to, in one sense, experiment or trying to experience being a controller or being apart from Krishna, trying to take the position of Krishna. So what happened when the spirit soul, being a marginal potency of the Lord, marginal means that you are in the border. So if you look this way, there's the external potency of the Lord, the material potency of the Lord. If you look this way, there's the spiritual potency of the Lord. That's what the margin means. You know, you can be here, you can be there. You know. So, because the living entity, when the living entity falls into this world, the material world, when you turn towards the materialistic part, then what happened? Krishna explains that in the Bhagavad Gita, Icha, Dvesha, Shamutenam. Once becomes bewildered by this duality, the duality of Icha and Dvesha. Dvesha means hate. Icha means desire. Desire and hate. Or raga and dvesha. Attachments, hankerings, and rejection, hate, envy. So these elements are there. And the material world is designed with this dvesha, these opposite things, to basically have the living entity experience happiness and distress. And it's all governed by this energy of the Lord that is called Kala Shakti, time. Time forces the living entity to experience something that is completely unnatural and completely opposed to the nature of the living entity. We are eternal beings that are forced to live in an environment that is temporary. And that experience is arranged by this Kala Shakti. Time makes things temporary and always changing. So we have to experience something that is completely incompatible to us because we're eternal. And therefore, we cannot function in this incompatible environment happily. We can't be happy. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. But when we are bewildered by this duality, then we disconnect with that reality and we have to experience this happiness and distress that is temporary. But at the end, because it's temporary, everything is suffering at the end. Dukkalayan, ashashvatan. The ashashvatan part is the incompatible environment that is temporary. And the dukkha is just how it's designed. Why is it designed like that? Well, to help us. To help us question ourselves. What am I doing? Why am I suffering? Why is all this happening? At one point, suffering does that to people. You start to question, what went wrong like that? So when one is in that position of questioning, it's a moment in which the openness for understanding something deeper is there. And therefore, Krishna, mercifully, he creates all these means to attract people and to show, first of all, the background of his teachings, the transcendental knowledge that is required. He packaged it in such a way that is very attractive. And that's why he performs his lila. It's simply to deal with the condition of the spirit soul. And a spirit soul that is bewildered and in a condition of not being able to see properly or being blinded by material condition, then he have to create all these amazing displays of very attractive pastimes. In those attractive pastimes, he displays the opulence that immediately attract the attention of the conditioned souls. So he manifests the greatest manifestations of beauty, the greatest manifestations of power, the greatest manifestation of wealth, of fame, of wisdom and renunciation. And that attracts us. That immediately attracts people. You want to hear. You hear about it. And when you become attracted, then Krishna injects us transcendental knowledge. So it's a big picture, the pastimes of Krishna. So this whole Mahabharata has a particular purpose. And the purpose is for common people. And when we talk about common people, which is the majority of us, common people, deep philosophical subject matters, at one point, it goes over your head. But when it comes to things that we can relate to love, relationship, conflicts, all these different things that are part of human life, then we feel, oh, wow, I can relate to this. I can relate to the all these different, eh, say in this situation we have two, Bhima and Duryodhana, and the background. I mean, this is the conclusion of a great drama that have gone through the whole narration of the Mahabharata. So now we are at the highest point when everything will be solved and everything will be finished. The battle between Bhima and Duryodhana. And the implications are huge. And, you know, again, the background, the whole thing is like, oh my God, because, backing up a little bit, the Mahabharata tells us that this is all after the whole Kuru army has been destroyed. There were only, I think, 5 people left. There was Duryodhana, there was Ashotama, Kripacharya, and what was the name of the general from the Yadu army that was fighting for Kritavarma? There were only these 4 left out of the 11 Akshohinis that Duryodhana had. Only 4 left. Duryodhana, after Karna was killed, he was devastated. So he assigned the king of Madras, whose name was Madra Naresh Shalya. He assigned it to be the main general after Karna. And Shalya was killed by Yudhishthira. So the whole thing's finished. He goes into this lake, and with his mystic powers, he submerged himself in the lake. Duryodhana disappeared. No one knew where he went. The Pandavas declared victory, but they couldn't fully declare victory because they have to capture Duryodhana. Duryodhana nowhere to be seen. So the search for Duryodhana starts. He is under a lake, sort of trying to, calm himself because he was pretty much devastated. So he is, with his yoga powers, he's under the lake meditating. Some tribe people find him, and then the Pandavas goes there and they start to call for him to come out. He comes out, and Yudhishthira offered this bewildering thing to Duryodhana. He says, and mind this, Duryodhana in a one-to-one combat, he was extraordinarily powerful, especially with the weapon of the mace, the gada. which he learned from Lord Balaram, and he was the best disciple of Lord Balaram in terms of fighting with this club. The only one who can face him was Bhima, who was equally powerful with the gada, with the weapon of the club. And as is explained in these verses, they were equally matched because Bhima had greater strength, but Duryodhan has the best technique. So they were equally matched. However, the Mahabharata tells us that Duryodhan had the advantage. Why he had the advantage? Because he had received the blessings or a kavacha, a protection shield that was bestowed upon him by his mother. His mother, Gandhari, had, with all her mystic powers that she had accumulated by her austerities through her life and her worship, he made his body as strong as made of steel. So there was no way he was going to be harmed in any part of his body that she was able to see. But there was one part of his body that she was not able to see, which was his waist. And there's a whole story in which how Krishna cheated Duryodhan and Gandhari's intentions by asking Duryodhan, cover yourself in your waist, so put a gamcha. Gandhari asked Duryodhan, come naked in front of me, and I make sure that whatever I see in your body becomes like steel. And as he's walking naked, Krishna appeared. Krishna say, what are you doing? Duryodhan was, they're civilized. So Duryodhan was very embarrassed to be captured by Krishna walking naked. And even more embarrassed when Krishna asked him, why are you naked? And where are you going naked? Are you going towards the tent of your mother? Are you crazy? You're going to show yourself? And he didn't know what to say. So he said, my mother asked me to come like that. And I said, well, put a gancha at least, so which is basically, it's like going in your underwear, like that. At least put a gancha. At least don't show your privates, You go, it's going naked. So Duryodhan said, yeah. I mean, it was just too embarrassing to go in front of your mother like that. So that part, Gandhari didn't see. That part was um, unprotected. And by Krishna's arrangement, Bhima has made a vow that he will break the thigh. He will break that part of Duryodhan. And that part was not protected. That's by faith. But the rest, the other twist of this arrangement is that in club warfare, if you follow the principles of Dharma according to this type of fighting with this mace, you cannot hit in that part. It's like boxing. When you're doing boxing, if you hit in that lower part, it's prohibited. Then, it's not legal. So then you can lose your fight like that. So, and, these are Kshatriyas, and they go by the rule of Dharma when they fight. It's part of their pride. So, never mind that that para is not protected. When it comes to fight with the Pandavas, they can hit me there. But anywhere, nothing harm will be. So there is Bhima that at times he hits Duryodhan in the head with the force of 10,000 elephants, and nothing happens, not even a scratch. So it was very worrisome because the fact is that Duryodhan had the advantage. Now, um, the the arrangement that Yudhisthira made, he offers Duryodhan, actually, you can choose any one of us, which means if Duryodhan wanted, he can choose anyone but Bhima and easily win. Even Arjuna, because Arjuna was powerful, but Arjuna's weapon of power was the bow. He was not going to match Duryodhan with the mace. Nor Yudhisthira, nor Sahadev, nor Nakula. And he says, you choose one of us, and if you win, you take the kingdom. The whole battlefield of Kurukshetra was going to go to waste. All those personalities that die for the cause of the Pandavas was again put in danger by this offer of Maharaj Yudhisthira. Krishna turns and says, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You put in a risk. What about if he chooses you? You're not going to win. But Duryodhan hate for Bhima was so great that he wanted to fight Bhima. Why the hate towards Bhima was so great? Well, Bhima killed all his brothers, 99 of them, especially the one who was so dear, Dushashan. So the hatred that he had towards Bhima, he couldn't see anything but Bhima. So he chose Bhima. And now we have this situation. This is quite dramatic, this whole thing. So everybody here in the Mahabharata is on the edge of the seat. What's going to happen here? And to add to that drama, there comes Balaram. Balaram comes, and they see Balaram and they know, the Pandavas, that Balaram has a soft heart towards Duryodhana. And even when, Balaram addressed the two of them, he addresses first Duryodhana. And he calls Duryodhana the king, which happens to be, Duryodhana was in that position because he usurped Yudhisthira's position. So it was not really, but nevertheless, he is Balaram, the personality of Godhead, implying that he was actually favoring Duryodhana. So they were silent. They were like, what is Lord Balaram's motivation? What does he want? What's going to happen here? So it's all this drama. But at the end of the whole thing is as Srila Sukadev Goswami concludes. He tells Parikshit Maharaj, Lord Balaram is basically, in sync and understanding this is Krishna's arrangement. This is Krishna has orchestrated all this, and it's all fate. It's all controlled and arranged by Krishna. So basically, you add to this drama, and with that, well, Krishna establishes, fulfill his purpose in this world. At the end, the battle concludes. Duryodhana is killed. Bhima fulfills his vow. Krishna tells Bhima, hit him right there, by some signs. He started to touch his thigh, you know, trying to have Bhima remember that, remember the vow that you made. Bhima hit him there, breaks the thigh of Duryodhana, and Duryodhana is terminally wounded. And then the battle is concluded. Balaram becomes really angry because Bhima defeated Duryodhana in an illegal manner, and he is the teacher of both, so he was insulted by one of his disciples acting in a way that is outside the rules. And then he wanted to kill Bhima. Krishna interfered, and Krishna tells Balaram that, well, we're going to hear about it, but he pacifies Lord Balaram, and Lord Balaram forgives Bhima. So it's all arranged by Krishna. And it's all arranged, again, all these beautiful pastimes, amazing pastimes, they're displays of Krishna's opulences. Krishna displays his opulence to attract us, to attract the conditioned souls. And then as we go in this world, going suffering the threefold miseries of life, then when we come to the position to try to inquire about the Absolute, then we're able to receive through Krishna's pastimes his instructions. And we have the correct disposition. So it's a very amazing thing. And we can appreciate the fortune that we have to being taken by the hand from our Vaishnava acharyas to appreciate, to hear, and to understand these transcendental pastimes. Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna.
Jai Suvakri Prabhu.
One Prabhu. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
The channel number 2, just bring it up a little bit, number 2. The fader on number 2.
Hare Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu, well said. You begin with about how Lord created this creation, and but still there's some deficiency. Why Lord created, well explained how the conditioned souls can overcome this for the correction. And then you explained about Mahabharata, well said. But like Bhagavad Gita, if you go through soul and body, and Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Transcendental Knowledge, Sankhya Yoga, bhakti. So all we see that the philosophy is for few, holy name for the mass. How we, as conditioned souls, like Kalo Lokini Virajan, Asteko Mahagun, Kirtana Deva Krishnasya, Hare Nam Hare Nam Kevalam Kalo Naste Naste Urati. So in this conditioned stage, we are struggling to chant how we can overcome this weakness.
Yeah. Well, it's as you mentioned, specifically in this age of Kali, is is without the holy name there is no chance. When Vyasadeva was compiling the Vedas, he compiled the Mahabharata for the less intelligent class of men, right? Remember that. And within the Vedic structure, for the less intelligent, then they had the means to receive transcendental knowledge through the itihasas and to the narrations of historical events, narrations like that, Puranas and itihasas. Now, in Kali Yuga, everybody is disqualified. Kalao Sudra Samprabha. That everybody, you know, doesn't have the proper qualifications. So, but even with the narrations of the Mahabharata, the Itihasas, all these, even that becomes almost impossible because when you have, suppose, when we're trying to manage something, a community, a temple, to govern, a group, an institution or a community or things like that. If you have guidelines, but guidelines without a structure that applies those guidelines and that makes sure that those guidelines are followed, then are useless. You can have guidelines, but if you don't have an element that applies those guidelines and then make sure those guidelines are applied, then the guidelines are useless. Or the contrary, if you have a structure that have no guidelines, we also get nowhere. So Kali Yuga, one of the aspects of Kali Yuga is that the structure of an ashram gets disrupted. So there's no structure, there's no social structure. So the guidelines, are very difficult to follow because you don't have a supporting structure. So then, to be able to create the space, because the Banashram, what it does, it guarantees that there's religion. And the process of religion guarantees also that the persons have the capacity to receive transcendental knowledge. When you take that away, then how do you get that to that space in which you can receive transcendental knowledge? You need purification. And in Kali Yuga, the only solution for actually receive that is the most powerful, which is the chanting of the holy names. So specifically for Kali Yuga, it works. The holy names are non different than Krishna. So in any time, it's not, there's no circumstance, there's no rules, there's no regulations. But for Kali Yuga, we have no choice. There's no chance. There's nothing else. In other times, yoga can do meditation can do, worship can do, and the holy name is always there. But in these times, nothing can do but the holy name to bring the people to that position. So yeah, it's an important thing that is given to us, and we come to understand that that is the yuga dharma, that is the activity to perform in this age of Kali. So it's well documented. Anything else? Chintia Prema?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Subal Prabhu, for the class. I have a couple of questions. So just to understand, if I'm understanding correctly. So all the suffering in this material world for us is our doing, right? So Krishna doesn't want us to suffer. So it's not that he creates this happiness and distress and the suffering, so we experience both. So we understand then that, we should go to Krishna. Or the entire suffering is just our doing based on the karma law, which Krishna created. So the question is, does Krishna send us the sufferings, or he just, creates karma, and all the suffering is our own doing?
Yeah, the thing of suffering is something that is the philosophy and the understanding is that it's illusory. It's something that is all here, you know. It's something that comes with a misconception of the self. So it's an illusion. It's real because we have to experience it. It's like, people who have some mental illness. You experience a lot of suffering, but it's all here. An schizophrenic person, nothing is happening, but you think something is happening that is going to harm you. So the suffering is real, it's a real experience, but it's something that we're creating out of an illusion. So it's not really, the spirit soul is not, it's just, there's no material thing that is touching it. It's an experience that is out of an illusion. And the whole thing that Krishna's arranged is to break that illusion. So in one sense, this world is designed to help us sort of break that sort of sammohan or delusion, to break it. It's almost like a psychiatric hospital or something like that. And we've been treated to become healthy again. So it appears, from Krishna's perspective, happiness is just it's just part of the treatment. It's a therapy. It's not really harming you, but it's giving you the capacity to become healthy. From our perspective, we are experiencing happiness and distress as part of the delusion, as part of the. So, and the distress, there's that experience in itself as we've been in a process, in a therapy, in a progressive therapy that is guided by people who are expert physicians. Then we start to become aware, oh, okay, so matra sparsas tukunteya, this thing happens in the mind. Not really, they're not real. They're temporary, they're illusory like that. So, and then I have to start to get in touch with my real self. And I start to practice that connection to the real self. which is the spiritual part. So it's all pretty amazingly designed like that.
Yeah, thank you. And one more question is, so you said that the only, so Krishna manifests himself into the material world and allows us to hear his pastimes, lilas, and this is the medicine, this is the way us to getting out from here. And our soul immediately get attracted. So why not all the souls immediately get attracted? Is it because their condition is way too hard and they cannot like be attracted by Krishna? So why some people start even offending Krishna?
Yeah, it's a matter of timing. The thing that doesn't allow us to be attracted to Krishna is envy. So when those elements are very strong, it requires, it's a matter of time, but the exposure is there. Even by having, some rejection of Krishna and his pastimes. Oh no, he's Krishna is an immoral whatever. They go man, they come in contact with Krishna's pastimes. They're very attractive, but no, 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 no. I don't. It's out of envy. But even you know, uh, rejecting Krishna like that still has an effect. Prabhupada said, you know, even by criticizing Krishna, you are thinking of Krishna in some way, and that has some purifying effect. So it's a matter of time. Everybody has their time. You know, the narrative of how you started in Krishna consciousness. I mean, up to now, you can see there was a point in which you broke through, that part. But in the beginning, many of us, you were very skeptical about it. Not necessarily attracted to that. So Krishna have different tricks, prasadam, music or this and that. In some way, he's gonna try to purify you, and with the purification of heart, meaning that envy becomes, sort of diminished, then you start to become ready to accept.
Thank you. I actually have one quick question. Sorry. So I want to please Krishna. Is there, what is the most, like, the strongest Krishna's desire?
What's the strongest Krishna?
Desire. What does he want the most?
Well, I think one thing that he says in the Bhagavad Gita, if we think about it, that those who are teaching this great secret to others, they're very dear to him. So, he says some things that are dear to him. And one thing that he considers very, very dear is for the ones of us who dedicate our lives, and that's what Prabhupada is giving us. We are serving someone who is doing exactly what is very dear to Krishna, and so we can commit to the mission, the Sankirtan mission, which is the essence of Krishna's desire. He came as Lord Chaitanya to establish that, to inaugurate the mission to bring Krishna consciousness to others. So I think I would say that. We stop here. Krishna Archana had a question. You want? Okay, let's do it. No, it's okay? Yeah, it's time. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for your attention. Grantara Shriman Bhagavatam Ki Jai.